our own story back, to say, actually, we have been a force for good in the world, a great force for good in the world, greater than most countries, that's for sure. That's a natural attitude, and it also happens, in the case of Britain, as in America, to be one that is correct and accurate. So I would suggest that after this period of stripping away, this demoralizing period that has been taught to a generation, we start to turn it around and reclaim what's ours.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. A terrific clip from one of my favorite authors, one of the guys that I love hearing speeches from, Douglas Murray. The man is brilliant. And what he lays out in this video is absolutely true about the attacks on Western culture. Whether you're American, Canadian, British, the left has tried to tell us that we are not allowed to be proud of our unparalleled histories and cultures and diversities. And these countries that have given the world the best free markets on the planet, you are allowed to be proud of what we've achieved as a civilization. That has nothing to do with the color of your skin. But Western countries, as we know it, and all their riches and all their greatness is under attack by a false representation of our history. You see it in America, of our present, of our future. We are being told lies about who we were, who we are, and who we should be. The rewriting of history in American schools that is fed to kids today is unbelievable. And we can no longer stand by and watch our politicians sell out our homes and have the media cover it up for them. There are just too many uncomfortable truths that are happening in the world today, in Western countries, in Europe, in North America, that are simply not being addressed. And America took the first step by electing Trump, and other Western countries need to do the same. Let's get to Douglas Murray because this speech is absolutely amazing.
I'm Douglas Murray. This is Direct Address. A poll out this week found that just 41% of young British people felt proud to be British. Just 41% of people in the 18 to 27 age bracket. This has caused quite a lot of comment and some concern, not least because 20 years ago, when the same question was asked, the results were very different. In 2004, when young Britons were asked whether or not they felt proud to be British, fully 80%, 80%, of young Britons polled said that yes, they felt proud to be British. The same results can be found in basically every Western European country. Central and Eastern Europe is a rather different matter. But in every Western European country, it's a pretty similar result. It's a pretty similar result in Canada, and you find really pretty similar results in the United States of America as well. A recent poll in the US asked people whether or not they felt extremely proud to be American. And among young Americans, 18%, just 18% said that they were extremely proud to be an American. And that's different from every other age group. For instance, among people over the age of 55, around 50% of people said that they were extremely proud to be American. It's not surprising, first of all, that there are some consequences from all of this. Another poll recently found that just 11% of young Britons, 11%, would be willing to fight for their country. And that again caused a lot of alarm when it came out. People said, how can only 11% of young people be willing to fight for their country? I would have said it's pretty obvious. If you've been told all your life that your country is rotten, absolutely everything about it is terrible, no redeeming features at all, that it's all racist, based in slavery and colonialism and so on, why on earth would you fight for it? Why would you risk laying down your life for a country that's rotten? And so this stuff actually has very, very significant effects. Now, many people are saying at the moment, how did this happen? Why did it happen? And there's a very straightforward answer to that. It's been taught. It's been taught. That's it. Over 20 years, in Britain, as in America, Canada, Western Europe, and other democracies, young people have been taught that their countries are rotten. In America, we've just gone through a period of more than 10 years where young Americans were told that even the most basic things that would have been taught to them a generation ago have to be reframed. Remember the 1619 project, done by a set of pseudo-historians with the backing of the New York Times? They even changed the birth date of America to 1619, and they did all of these picture books for kindergarteners and school textbooks which said the same thing, even dramatizations of this turgid and untrue work. All of it saying, actually, American history starts from the moment that the first slaves were brought across the Atlantic into North America. So the idea was, America's just racist.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the left in America that think that slavery is a totally American thing, which slavery is still going on today. But if you want to look at the past, have you ever looked at the slave trade going west? Muslim countries have enslaved more black people back then than Americans did. You want to know why they have no ancestors there in those countries today? Because they castrated them so they couldn't have babies in their countries with their women. They couldn't breed, even with their own people. At least America took the steps to abolish slavery. Let's get back to Douglas Murray. But before that, if you don't mind just smashing that thumbs up button for your boy, consider subscribing to the channel, help it grow. Let's get back to Douglas.
Britain, of course, is not just racist, but colonialist. And, of course, everyone's just a slaver in our past. A poll 3 years ago found that almost half of young British people agreed with the phrase that the UK was founded on racism. If I chortle a bit about that, it's because it's so utterly laughable. Anyone who knows anything about British history knows that it is based on an awful lot of things, and racism has next to nothing to do with it. What is racist about the Magna Carta? Does anyone know? No, there's nothing in it that's racist. It's one of the founding documents of Britain, but no, that's also meant to be racist. Everything is meant to have been looked at in this light. And if you go to almost any cultural institution, not to mention educational institution in the UK, you will find this message beaten into you all the time. Go to the British Museum and go to the bookshop and you'll see that everything is about the evil of the British Museum, the evil of the British past. Go to the Tate Britain and you'll find the same thing. Everything in the British past is just bad. Now, this is part of what the French writer Renaud Camus has called the Great Deculturization, or the Great Deculturation. What he meant by that is that to really demoralize a people, to really demoralize a country, you have to strip their culture away from them. You have to take it away from them. You have to say there's nothing good in it, nothing that they should or could feel pride in. And that's been done not just to every aspect of history, but to every hero in our history. America is hopefully at the moment coming out of this phase to a great degree. It's just slightly moving out of that phase where everyone has to believe that all the founding fathers were wicked, Abraham Lincoln was no good, and there's just nothing really to be feel pride in America. There's been a great revolt against that actually in the US by people who sensed correctly that this was not a fair or reasonable interpretation of America's great past. But the same thing has been done in the UK, and with the same results, and not yet with the pushback that it should get. A poll recently found that 38% of young British people believed that Winston Churchill's statue in Parliament Square should be removed. Again, that's not too surprising, because the narrative pushed on that generation for many years now has been that Winston Churchill was a wrong-un. There are various stupid versions of this. One's like, he drank too much, no bad thing, I think, but there are also versions of it that say he had some Victorian attitudes. Well, yes, of course he did, because Winston Churchill was born in Victorian England. So sort of inevitable he'd have some Victorian attitudes. On the plus side of the equation, and you'd have thought that this would count for something, despite the critiques of the right and left at the moment, he also managed to save his country and indeed the civilized world from Nazi fascism, which you would have thought should count for something. And here's the thing, it does. It does count for something. And we have to, if we're going to turn this narrative around, reclaim not just our past, not just to reculture ourselves, but to also reclaim the figures from our history who have been taken from us systematically for a generation now. There are some people who say that this is hopeless, but I don't actually think it is, and I'll just quickly say why. All of this deculturation, all of this robbing of our past from us has been done very successfully in the course of just 20 years. And it's a very unnatural process. Most people anywhere in the world want to be able to have the right, and should have the right, to feel proud about their country, their past, their civilization, their culture. It's a rather unnatural thing, actually, to be taught to hate yourself. And what's more, to be taught to hate yourself by people who seem to adore themselves. But if that was all managed in 20 years, then it means we only need 20 years, or preferably a lot less, to take our own story back. To say, actually, we have been a force for good in the world, a great force for good in the world, greater than most countries, that's for sure. That's a natural attitude. And it also happens, in the case of Britain, as in America, to be one that is correct and accurate. So I would suggest that after this period of stripping away, this demoralizing period that has been taught to a generation, we start to turn it around and reclaim what's ours.
If you're looking for great books to read or just to listen to on the treadmill, which is how I do most of my consumption of books, The Madness of Crowds, The Strange Deaths of Europe, The War on the West by Douglas Murray, all amazing books that I recommend you read. If you're somebody who likes books from, say, Thomas Sowell, something like Black Rednecks, White Liberals, you would absolutely love his books. I don't have a link for you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. They're just great reads. Everything he said in the video is factually true. They're trying on the left to make everything that's American evil, everything that's Western evil, all our Judeo-Christian values. They are trying to demonize everything that is Western. This is why they want to take down our statues. This is why they were trying to take down the statue of Abe Lincoln. They tried to take down Winston Churchill in England. And once you let them do that, you're on your way to losing. These are people that want to do a great reset to our society. They hate everything about the West. They hate our Judeo-Christian values. This is the same reason, in my opinion, that they're trying to make men more like women, because if you have a society where the men are weak and the men are scared, people will not rise up, because we need strong men in society. Everybody knows that famous quote. We are in the weak men part of that quote. This was awesome. I hope you all have a great day. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.